Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Today, we're going to be focusing in on superstar edge rusher TJ Watt, who unfortunately has not signed an extension with the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point in the Steelers offseason. And today, we're going to talk about why that is. Why has TJ Watt not signed an extension, and why haven't the Pittsburgh Steelers gotten this done yet? I've got some explanations for you guys today, and then I'll finish up today's show with my reasoning for why I'm not worried about this situation as of right now. But before we get into the content today, let me know true or false down there in the comment section. TJ Watt is still the best defensive player in the National Football League today. Type T if you think that statement is true, or type F if you think that statement is false. So we'll start here with the report from Slick Rick. That is at Slick Rick Scoops. He had the scoop on the Jalen Ramsey trade. He had the scoop on the Aaron Rodgers signing, and he had the scoop on the George Pickens trade this offseason. So this is kind of your source for the Steelers scoops this offseason. He says the latest Steelers offer to TJ Watt would make him the highest paid non-quarterback by APY, so that's annual earnings, but there is still a ways to go on getting the deal done. Expect a deal to get done closer to camp. So my takeaway from this scoop from Slick Rick here, guys, is that the Steelers are in fact committed to getting a deal done with TJ Watt. This is what all the reporting from all the quote-unquote reputable people are saying as well, saying that the Steelers are very committed to keeping TJ Watt for the long-term future and making him a Steeler for life. Also, if this scoop ends up being true, the Steelers are going to be willing to pay TJ Watt at the top of the market, exceeding what Myles Garrett got this year at $40 million per season with the Cleveland Browns. Now, the question that I want to discuss here is, if Pittsburgh is offering Watt record-setting money, what exactly is the holdup here? And I think that there are three potential sticking points for why a deal has not been come to terms as of yet that you as Steelers fans need to know about. The first one is contract guarantees. Okay, the guarantees are a very important aspect to modern-day NFL contracts. Back in the day, pretty much no guaranteed money was included on these players' deals, maybe except for the first year on the deal, but outside of that, teams wanted the flexibility to be able to cut a player if they had a major injury or if they regress. Modern day NFL contracts, especially for these players getting big deals, you got to guarantee a large portion of that contract for the player to accept it. And Pittsburgh, with TJ, past the age of 30, he's going to be 31 this year. Pittsburgh may be hesitant to give TJ Watt a close to fully guaranteed deal because if he has a heavy regression, if he tears his Achilles, if he tears his ACL, that could be detrimental to the football team with the current cap hit that he would have to take on his current contract. So the Steelers may be willing to give TJ Watt the money that he wants in terms of APY, which of course is annual earnings. According to this report from Ricky, the Steelers are willing to make him the highest paid player, non-quarterback player in NFL history, but guarantees is probably the thing that's the big gap here between TJ Watt and the Steelers. Another thing that TJ might be waiting on here is Micah Parsons, okay? Because Micah Parsons is another superstar edge rusher that is also seeking a massive contract extension, and like Watt, Micah Parsons is expected to be the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history when that deal comes down. So why wait for this? Well, TJ might be saying, well, with Micah still out there, I don't want to sign a deal for $41 million per season, and then Micah just comes up right after and says, okay, I'll sign for $42 million, and then he's at the top of the market. TJ is not. Right now, what TJ could be doing is saying, if you want to sign me before the Micah Parsons deal is done, you can pay me $45 million per season or something crazy like that. During this portion of the season, you don't have to, there's no practices, there's nothing really going on. There's really no incentive for TJ Watt not to wait for Micah Parsons to sign his deal with the Cowboys before finalizing his deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the final potential sticking point that you guys should know about is that TJ Watt has all the leverage here, and he absolutely knows it at this point in time, guys. TJ is an absolutely crucial part to this Steelers roster. He is the best player on this team, and he knows just how important he is to the success of this football team, guys. So, I think if Pittsburgh wants to win a Super Bowl this year, TJ Watt has to be on the roster. And I think that his impact on the Steelers defense over the last several seasons when he's been on the field versus off the field is pretty apparent, guys. You take a look at what the Steelers have been able to do with him on the field versus without. They win 2/3 of their games when he's playing. They win less than 10% of their games when he's not playing. And not only does the defense give up a touchdown more per game when he's not on the field, but the offense scores about a touchdown less per game. So that's about a 14-point swing in terms of the grand scheme of things with TJ Watt, one player not being on the field. The sacks and turnovers per game go down dramatically as well when he is not on the field because of the impact that he brings. And if you think that that is just because of years past and he's not still that valuable, well, let's take a look at his numbers last year before his ankle injury versus the Eagles versus after. The Steelers didn't win a freaking football game after he went down with that injury. Even though he kept playing, he wasn't the same level of player because he didn't have the same mobility in his ankle. And of course, the point swing both on offense and defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers were dramatic after the injury versus before. So TJ Watt is still the most valuable player on this football team, and the production speaks for itself, guys. Since he entered the league in 2017, he is number one in sacks by 5.5, number one in tackles for loss with 7, number one in forced fumbles by 9, and then he's number one in forced fumbles plus interceptions, so that's turnovers forced by 5. Okay, so that is astronomical production from an edge rusher. And then even since his last contract in 2021, he's number 2 in sacks, only to Myles Garrett with 58.5. He's tied for first with Garrett in TFLs with 40, and he's still number 1 in forced fumbles with 16, where last year he just had an incredible season forcing fumbles. And from Watt's perspective here, guys, if you're TJ Watt right now and you're looking at this contract situation, he's saying to himself, I'm still the best defensive player in the game, and obviously the Steelers waited to do my contract until after Myles Garrett got his with the Cleveland Browns, so they're going to have to pay the price here, and he wants to be compensated as the best non-quarterback in the National Football League. And frankly, if that's what he wants, he can do that because he knows that if the Steelers are trying to win a Super Bowl this year, and if they don't have him on the roster, they're not going to win a Super Bowl, right? So, you look at TJ Watt, you absolutely have to have him on this team. TJ Watt knows that, which is why he can sit there and pretty much name his price, and he knows the Steelers pretty much have to pay it at this point. Now, coming up here, I'm going to tell you why I'm not worried about the TJ Watt situation. You guys know if you've been watching for the channel for a while that I have never been worried about the TJ Watt situation. I've consistently said I think a deal is going to get done, and coming up here, I'm going to tell you why I'm still not worried about this contract situation. But before we get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Fanatics, where you guys can get this awesome Pittsburgh Steelers hoodie from our friends at Fanatics. 50% off when you go to chatsports.com/Pitt hoodie. That link is in the comments and description of today's show. If you click that link and you make a purchase, Fanatics sends us here at Steelers Talk part of the proceeds. You get a hoodie 50% off. Some money comes to us here at Steelers Talk to help us with our graphics packages, keep the lights on, pay the rent, do all the things that we have to do here at Chat Sports. If you want to help us out and you want to get yourself a brand new Pittsburgh Steelers hoodie for the 2025 season, go chatsports.com/Pitt hoodie to make that happen today. All right, so 4 reasons why I am not worried about the TJ Watt situation. Number 1, Pittsburgh knows that they can't lose him. All right, you don't bring in DK Metcalf. You don't sign a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. All right, you don't trade for both Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, 2 veteran players, and pay them unless you expect to kind of make a run towards a title this year. And plain simply, if you don't have the best defensive player and best player overall on your team, the chances of you going on a run go down pretty significantly, right? So the Pittsburgh Steelers know they can't lose him. Number 2, TJ Watt wants to be here, guys. He has said time and time again that he wants to be here. He wants to be a Pittsburgh Steeler for life. He loves the organization. He loves Coach Tomlin, all these different things. And guys, usually in the NFL, when both sides are committed to making something happen, it usually gets done, okay? You just look at some of the deals in the past. Brandon Ayuk with the 49ers. Both sides eventually wanted something to get done. Eventually it did. Same thing with Nick Bosa in the Niners the year before that. Sometimes these things can get muddled and these things can, drag on even into training camp, but it usually gets done when both sides want a deal to get done, and that is the case with this situation. Then another thing here is that the Steelers can absolutely afford to pay TJ Watt a massive new contract. Not only is the cap going to balloon here in the incoming years, we'll talk about that here in just a second, but Pittsburgh, when it comes to the quarterback cap hits over the next several years, it's not going to be that high, all right? This year, it's just around a $14 million cap hit for quarterback Aaron Rodgers, and then in future seasons, you're probably going to draft a quarterback in round 1 of next year's NFL draft, and that quarterback is going to be on a rookie deal, so you have room on your cap here to kind of put a lot of that money onto an edge rusher, especially one as valuable as TJ Watt. Plus, the NFL cap is super manipulatable, guys. In 2029, the new TV rights deal comes in for the NFL, and with the Nielsen ratings completely going through the roof, that deal is going to be extremely lucrative, which is going to completely explode the cap once we get to the 2029 offseason. So the Steelers should be aware of that, and they should take a page out of Howie Roseman's playbook there with the Philadelphia Eagles and, kind of backload that contract with TJ Watt a little bit. So even though those cap hits in 2029, 2030 might be a little bit bigger, with the exploding cap, you're going to be able to take on those cap numbers a bit easier. So the cap is super manipulatable. You could even save money against the cap if you sign TJ Watt to an extension. Then the final thing, why I'm not worried about this deal, guys, and why I think it's going to happen is that we've seen this movie before. All right, let's rewind the clock back to 2021. TJ Watt holds in at training camp. There's a whole thing about him not getting a new deal, and of course, Watt and his representation were playing hardball with the Pittsburgh Steelers to try and get that record-setting deal. And then, he signs it on September 9th. So the last time that this happened, it dragged on all the way to the start of the NFL season. I don't know if it's going to go that far, but TJ has shown that he can extend kind of this contract negotiation and still have an all-time great season, where in 2021, he actually had 22 and a half sacks that year, and then 5 forced fumbles, and then 21 tackles for losses as well. It was just an unbelievable season, one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen from an edge rusher in NFL history, and he has shown that even with a contract negotiation ongoing, he can come out and play at a superstar level, even despite this situation ongoing. So my message to Steelers fans out there, guys, plain and simply, is to not worry about this. All right, I understand that it's uncomfortable right now. I understand that it's, why don't we just get this done already? But this is just the way that contract negotiations tend to go in the National Football League. And when you have a player in TJ Watt and a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers that both want to do business together, usually a deal does get done, and I just feel like there's no way in hell the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl this year, is going to be trading the best player on their football team before the start of the season. I just don't see that as a legitimate possibility, and right now I'm close to 100% sure Watt will be wearing a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform yet again here in 2025. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Are you 100% sure? Are you willing to guarantee me right now that TJ Watt will be a Steeler this year? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section to let me know what you guys think. And that'll be it for today's show, guys. If you made it to the end today, type those real ones down there in the comment section if you made it to the end of the show today. And make sure you click that subscribe button as well, because we're going to be covering every single update that comes our way when it comes to the TJ Watt situation. Of course, we'll probably be going live when the contract eventually comes down. So click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.